Let's make a keychain. So I'm using TinkerCAD, and you can access TinkerCAD at TinkerCAD.com. Just set up an account, and it's free to use. It's fantastic. This is a great, easy to learn, easy to use resource. Love it. So the first thing I like to do is go up here and give my file a name. It'll give you a silly little name. All files save automatically, so it's super easy. And you're going to choose a shape that you want to start to create your keychain. I'll go ahead and start my keychain with a box. So I click on that box and drag it over to my work plane. I can scale this box by clicking on these white handles. I can just click on the white handle and drag it, or I can come down and I can type the dimension that I want to use. So I'll make my keychain 100 millimeters long by 20 millimeters wide. I'll click on my Z-axis and I'll go ahead and make that 5 millimeters tall. Click anywhere in the work plane to make that selection go away. And you should note that you can make some changes to your object when you first put it in by using these sliders over here. So if you wanted to change the radius of the outside edges, you could add a little bit and it will round off the corners. The more steps that you include in that, the more smooth and refined it will be. And if you want a little bit boxier looking, you can leave it at a lower number of steps. The length, the width, and the height would change the same way that we changed it by clicking on these handles. So I'm happy with that shape, it looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and add some text. I could just pull some text in and try to position it perfectly by dragging it up and down on the Z-axis with this little black handle here, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to use this work plane and place it right on top of my shape so that when I pull in a new object, it will be positioned perfectly on the Z-axis so I don't have to mess with any of that. So whenever you add text, again, you get some options. First thing you want to do is change your text to whatever you want it to say. I'm going to put my name there. You can choose whatever font style you want. You can also change the height here. Same as using this little handle. And then there's a bevel option. So if you want to round off your edges a little bit, increase the number of segments to make it a little bit smoother. Now if I zoom in, you can see what's happening here. So the number of segments really makes it look smoother. So I'm going to add just a couple. And you can see that it's a little bit too big for my keychain shape, so I need to shrink it. I need to scale it. So I'm going to grab this little white handle, and if I just do that, it's going to change on both the X and the Y axis at the same time. And it's going to ruin the proportions of the text, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to undo. What you can do is hold Shift on your keyboard while you click on this handle and drag, and it will keep the proportions the same on both the X and the Y axis. And now you can position it on that shape. So it's a little bit off center, and you could just eyeball it and put it in the right position that you want, or you can use a tool called Box Select. So I'm going to grab my work plane and put it back on the bottom so this orange thing goes away. So just drag it down to the original location so I can see a little bit better. And now I want to center this name on my shape, so I'm going to use the box select feature. Click anywhere on the work plane and just drag, and you'll see a red box appear. Anything within that box is selected. So click on the align tool. You can center it on the X-axis, center it on the Y-axis, and there you go. To get rid of it, to get rid of these little black circles, just click on the work plane, and there you go. Now I would like my name to be over to the side a little bit, because this side we're going to be punching a hole to put our chain through. So I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'm just going to slide it over a little bit. Now, if I like the way it looks, I can box select and I can group it together with the group tool. Now I'm ready to punch a hole. So you can use different shapes, but I'll go ahead and use the hole that is already prepared, cylinder, to make a nice round hole through my shape. And again, I could click on this and just drag it, but I want to keep it round, so I'm going to hold shift at the same time to keep it proportional. And I'll make it about 10 by 10 and move it into position. If I look through the bottom, you want to make sure that it's punching all the way through. So just to be sure, I'll grab it on the Z axis and I'll push it through a little bit more. And then I'll group these two things together to make the hole. Box select, group. Ta-da! You now have a keychain. So now a couple of different variations. If you mess up or you do something that you want to change, you can box select it again and ungroup. Ungroup again. And now, if I wanted to make this a little bit bigger, I'm like, you know what, it needs to be a little bit bigger there. So I'm going to hold shift and make it a little bit bigger. And you know what? I want to punch my name through this object instead of having text that's rising up off the shape. I want this to be punched through. So what you can do is you can take any object, including text, and you can turn it into a hole. And now you could punch this through your shape. So it's not quite thick enough, so I need to increase the thickness so I can make it all the way through. And now if I box select it and group it, there's a different kind of keychain. Now keep in mind, if you do that, any pieces that are inside are just going to fall out. So if you have an A in your name or any letters that have a little piece on the inside, that may not be the best option for you. So again, I'll ungroup. Okay, now to turn that back into a solid, raise that back up. Now I can group it again and I can send it off for print. So to export it, you just click on your shape, or you just click on export, and you can choose everything in the design or the selected shape. If you want to just choose one thing, if you have multiple objects, and choose STL. You're going to send it off to your slicer program and prepare it for print. Have some fun.